Welcome to the McConnell vlog. I'm not fat, the camera adds 10 pounds. I'm out here right now with my shovel guarding my compost pile from potential looters during the COVID-19 outbreak. I want to talk to you today though, as you are experiencing your coronacation, not the adult libation, but the gestation of the new viral mutation that has thrown apart civil aviation and might be starving the people on the space station. For right now though, come with me out of your isolation as we talk about how we deal with waste generation. It's important to, of course, remember from chapter 16 that paper is the #1 source of waste. But when you add plastic and metals to it, we have an excellent opportunity to incorporate the 3 R's, reducing, reusing, and recycling, to how we deal with them so they don't end up in some sort of dump or landfill. Now on top of that, as we see here, we have valuable compost. By taking yard trimmings and green waste from the kitchen, we're able to recycle in the home, creating rich soil. Look at that. Yeah, you can see why looters would want to come here. Now, of course, we are going to be still using the modern sanitary landfill. And while I'm embarrassed by this, I also recognize that it's part of being in the richest country on earth. The keywords to remember when we're talking about modern sanitary landfills are NIMBY, not in my backyard. Where do we place the landfill? Often an environmental justice issue. On top of that, of course, there are 2 key technologies that make the modern sanitary landfill modern and sanitary. There is a liner to keep the leachate from going down into our groundwater, and some sort of collection of the methane that comes from the anaerobic, the decomposition of the green waste without oxygen. See, if I had sent this to the modern sanitary landfill and it had been buried, it would decompose anaerobically without oxygen, making methane, which is much more powerful than carbon dioxide at trapping heat in our atmosphere. Now, a couple laws that we do need to know: RCRA, the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, that has to do with hazardous waste, and of course CERCLA, the Comprehensive Environmental Reclamation, Compensation and Liability Act, the Superfund Act. We spoke in class about these already, so you already know how they work. You take a horrible location that has no value and you put Centennial High School on it. Now, moving right along though, of course, there are brownfields, which are just a lower level, but yet still potentially dangerous environment that can be reclaimed with the help of local governments. And before something becomes a Superfund site, it goes on the National Priorities List, NPL, the National Priority List of places that need to be reclaimed using the money from chemical and oil companies that sits in our nation's Superfund. All of that working together then brings us to a couple more philosophical ways of looking at garbage. There's life cycle analysis. This is the cradle to grave way of looking at garbage. Where did the product come from? The raw materials that went into it? How do we use it? What waste is given off during the use? What do we do with it when we're done with it? What can be recycled, etc. And then there's the integrated waste management concept, which is just an overall flow chart of the waste stream. All the different ways that we try to minimize how much of our waste goes into the landfill. So let's take a look over here at our this little whiteboard, please. Here we can see that I have created a small outline of key ideas from chapter 16 in our APES textbook. I am keeping weapons on me at all time these days, guys, but this should still work. So, if we look, #1, paper. Paper is the #1 waste that we generate in our society. Plastic and metal and paper can all be recycled, reduced, or reused. The green waste and the yard trimmings, which also are two major components of our municipal solid waste, can be composted, as I showed you earlier, in my very valuable compost pile. The sanitary landfill, not in my backyard. Tipping fees, how much it costs to take garbage to the landfill and dump it there. The modern landfill, we want to avoid leachate from getting in the groundwater and methane from going in the atmosphere. RCRA, the Hazardous Waste Law, and CERCLA, the Superfund Act, which of course creates a pool of money to clean up our kind of common areas after companies have left them. And finally, you should, in Chapter 16, read about life cycle analysis and integrated waste management. And for all of my fans out there, I'd just like to say, leachate. Thank you. We don't maybe have to put that